It is April 9th, 2025. We're here in the crawl space of the property located at 1825 Cypress Avenue in San Diego, California, 92103. And then the unit right next to here that's been built up is 1821 Cypress. So we're literally in the crawl space with all the new plastic ABS drain pipes, as you can see, for this unit. Everything's been upgraded and is new plastic. We've got a 4-inch sewer clean out right here. We're assuming the line runs from here to towards Georgia Street, which is then towards the 1821 unit. And we have a clean out that's on the side of the 1821 unit as well on the exterior. So we'll see if this is all ABS the entire way. Got a little bit of debris in our surface of our camera there. It might rub off. If not, we'll run some water. So the line is completely dry right now. We've got just a little bit of standing water right there because the unit is vacant. We'll probably run some water through the line to come back to make sure we don't have any standing water, meaning improper downhill slope. But we'll go through this dry at first as long as we can go. Just inspect everything. Okay, so we've got, looks like a T-junction right here and a bunch of cobwebs. This could be the T-junction that's on the side of the 1821. So you can see we're about 30 feet away. Seems about right. We'll check that with another camera, but we're going to keep pushing through here, see if we can keep going as far as we can. Right, there's a T-junction right there. So the first one may have not been a clean out. It could have been. It's hard to say. It could be these are the T-junctions for the bathroom fixtures of the unit itself, actually. And then here we go. We have a transition. We got a little bit of standing water right here. So we're going to use this water to kind of clean off our lens. There we go. And it looks like we have a transition to cast iron. It is a perfectly aligned pipe between the two, but there's a little bit of standing water because with some cast iron, as you can see in the bottom, there's some scale and buildup. So normally when we do it, we'll use a little carbide bit on the end of a high-speed Dremel style tool, and we'll kind of ramp down that buildup at the initial connection point. But this is very minor. It's not a big deal. It's not creating a huge pool or lake of water there. So we'll push through this transition right here. Have to kind of jump over that little hub there so you can see it is kind of catching our camera to move up and through this. So a little thick. Again, we normally would clean that up. We'll mark where this is at on the property because in case this does ever land up being an issue with causing stoppages, then the people know exactly where this has to be dug back up and that internal part cleaned up. Now, we also have a process called a chain knocking. Typically, you can use hydrojetting too. You can try to scrape the wall clean. In a small version like this, a little chain knocker may actually clean some of that up before you have to dig it up. So that's what you would attempt first, if this ever even is a problem. We're not saying it's going to be a problem, but there is a little hiccup right here with that buildup, and it's actually stopping our camera from this distance getting the pushability to jump over that. So what we're going to do is we're going to pause the video. We're going to locate where this is at, and then because we know we certainly have passed that other clean out by 1821 with the distance we're at, we'll just put in a second camera, which we were going to do anyway from that clean out, and that'll probably allow us to get by this spot here with two cameras riding by this area. So we're going to pause and locate. Okay, so we moved to the front entry point area of 1821 Cypress Avenue. The other camera we put in the line is still there. We went ahead and located where that ABS to cast iron transition was with the little hump. And so that's literally right here and right 3 feet from this clean out. So again, this is the kitchen behind this area. There's a clean out right there. Here's the 4-inch sewer clean out. We passed that one. And then 3 feet literally from the center point of this drain where we painted on the ground that mark, there's the transition from plastic to cast iron. And the pipe is only 1 feet 3 inches deep to the bottom of the pipe. So literally it's not even 12 inches to the top of the 4-inch ABS pipe. So just 3 feet from there, that's that paint mark. So we'll now go ahead and put this camera in to go ahead and try to look past this point in the system. There's our other push rod, and there's the other camera head. So you can see this is a little bit stiffer push rod, so we're very easily able, plus a close distance, to get through that little buildup. So looking through this old line here, you can have a little bit of that, again, scale and buildup of deposits on the bottom of the pipe. So you can see the top and side walls, round, circular pipe, but the bottom's kind of flat. And so that's the normal buildup you'll start to see in pipes that are this age. Okay, then we've got a bunch of roots intruding right here. So the cast iron has failed and is not in good condition. We do have a couple of trees in the backyard here. One almost directly looks like in line with the sewer possibly, and then some off to the right of this yard neighboring the fence line with the neighbor's property. So here we've got this right here. So we're going to go ahead and just pause for 1 second and note where this is at on the property here. Okay, so this root intrusion is directly under the tree. So the tree that's here, which is just 5 feet from that green paint mark we made where the cast iron begins, that's where this is. So unfortunately, the pipe is so shallow. It's only about 1 feet 4 inches deep, the few feet ahead, and so that tree is not going to survive the process of repairing this line, because unless we find a bunch of other problems with the line farther ahead, typically it's cheaper to dig up and replace such a shallow pipe that's in a diggable area rather than go through the expensive relining process. Now, if you don't want to lose the tree, when you dig up the ground here and cut the roots, they're going to be in the way, then the lining process is the only way to try to salvage that. But let's continue downstream now that we've got that marked and know where it's at. We'll go ahead and see what the rest of this cast iron looks like. So just some, again, normal buildup on the bottom, little undulations here and there. We'll run water again once we get all the way out. Now, we have a fence line right in this backyard, front yard area of this unit, and then to the neighbor's property. So we're making a little, looks like an offset downhill turn right here. So we're going down at about a 45-degree angle here. And then we're recorrecting right here to become horizontal again. And it looks like we've maintained a pretty straight run, so we're probably passing under the neighbor's property or yard, whatever's there. We'll have to look. It looks like there's an actual building there, and then it might run to Georgia Street. So we'll continue to push through this and see the condition of the line. Again, we can see a lot of deposits and buildup on the bottom. Doesn't mean that it's not functional. Doesn't mean that's going to cause stoppages. It's just due to the sheer age. That's just what this cast iron is going to look like. So the one thing we didn't note when we entered this, because we weren't sure, of course, what we were going to find, but this 4-inch ABS cleanout, depending on how long ago it was put in and done, we don't see any wear indicator marks. So anytime a line has to be cabled or cleared, even sometimes the hydrojetter hose will rub into the top of the cleanout, the very top threading, and will leave a little chew mark, a wear indicator mark. We don't see any on the cleanout here. So either this was done recently or they just haven't had any stoppages since it was done that they've had to go and clean the system out on a regular basis at all yet, at least. These are just little cobwebs, no roots there. Again, the bottom of the pipe really flat, a lot of buildup on there, but still functional, still intact. A little bit of buildup right there. Doesn't look like roots. Looks like we have a Y junction right there, so that's a T junction. Now, it could be a clean out. It's unlikely that it's sharing with the neighbor, but some neighborhoods that were created like this, where they have to pass under, they may have been that way. We don't allow that for a long time now, but really old neighborhoods, old buildings, they were sharing one pipes at some point and junctioning in near the property line or by the sidewalk, and then one running out. We don't know if that's the case here. We'll try to see, we're about 38 feet out where this junction is approximately. We'll try to see if we can locate that, but if it's on another person's property, we may not be able to see. If they're home and willing to run water, we could ask them to run water just to verify that that's not them jumping into the system right there. Continue downstream here. Still same scale and buildup on the bottom of the pipe, but not finding any other debris, roots, or big cracks or breaks or anything else on the system so far still. We've got really good slope right here. So our camera's got a special tilt meter in it. We can see it's got very good pitch to it. Sometimes too much pitch will allow some of that buildup on the bottom to occur more, but at least it will also allow that stuff to tumble down the line extremely well and probably not get hung up with how gravity is going to help move that through. Now, again, we don't know how long it's been vacant for, when the last time things have been processed through the system, paper, feces, kitchen debris, etc., but looks fine now. Okay, we've got some more root intrusions, unfortunately, right here. You can see we're at 64 feet approximately. So we've got another problem with the system right here. Let me go ahead and pause the video right now so we can try to see if this is under the neighbor's property, if we have access to locate this, or if it's beyond their property, getting towards their front yard, towards Georgia Street. Okay, so we've located the pipe here, mostly at least, because it is under the neighbor's property. So, excuse me, the property that is directly to the east of here, which is on the corner of Cypress and Georgia, is where this line is passing under. And this root intrusion is about 5-6 feet in front of the sidewalk, and it's on the edge between their garage and their big high up landscaped retaining wall. So not sure if it's even a diggable area, of course, but because we have that wide junction further back, this could be a shared line. It may be both responsibility for both owners to maintain it or deal with this, at least with this intrusion. So we're going to continue downstream here because we do see a clean out at the property line near the sidewalk area that was put in when they might have redone the sewer in Georgia Street and coming back towards this lateral. So we'll see if in a few more feet here we're able to get through, and if we're able to get to some newer pipe and a clean out. So here's a little turn on the line. And here, in fact, is the new PVC pipe that was put in. So this is probably that clean out we were mentioning that we saw at the sidewalk, and we actually have some roots intruding right there. So the company that did this work for the city of San Diego, this wasn't homeowners' work, this was a company that did work for the city. When they did this, they actually did a poor job gluing these joints, and there's actually roots growing in at the hub of this T-junction. So on the top of that T is the vertical clean out, and that sweeps out towards the street, but just ahead of it right here, this glue joint, roots are intruding there, so they did a poor job connecting the lines. So got that third intrusion right there. See, that was just around 75 feet, and then this is going to be probably all new pipe when the street and everything was dug up. Let me look back here a second. It's just a turn on the line, little piece of pipe. This is all newer setup here. And here's the new junction and dumping into the city. So here's the large city pipe, so almost exactly 100 feet to the city. And so basically we are going to go ahead and pull back now and look at the T-junction that we saw further back and determine if we can see if the people are home next door, to try to go ahead and see if we can get them to run water for us to verify if it is a shared pipe or not. Okay, so we just went ahead and knocked on the neighbor's door with the real estate agent. They did not answer for this property on Georgia, in the corner of Cypress and Georgia, has a Georgia address. So what we did was we went on the rooftop and we poured 2 gallons of water down the vent pipe, and the water's running by our camera, you can see here. So it does appear that this is a shared pipe, because again, they dug up the lines in the street on Georgia, and there's only one clean out for these properties, so it makes sense that there would have been 2, one for this Cypress address and one for the Georgia property if they were separate. So the water just went through the system. We're going to pull back to this T-junction, and we'll probably dump one more bucket to go ahead and see. But let me pull back to this T-junction here. Oops, we just lost our camera image. There we go. Sorry about that. Pulled back a little fast here. So let me go ahead and pull back on the system here and see where that T-junction was. I think it was around 60 some odd feet. Let's see what we have here. Okay, yeah, there's our clean out for the street. And then we'll come back through this cast iron here. You can see there's the water in the system in the bottom, just a little bit trailing through still. Okay, there's the root intrusion in the line that is at the garage kind of door area, but up in the landscaping, high up retaining wall area. We'll pull back here a little bit further. Okay, there's our T-junction right there where we suspect this is what's coming from the house on Georgia. So we're going to go ahead and pause the video for 1 second while we get some more water. Okay, so we've restarted the video. We're going to go ahead and pour some more water down the line from the rooftop. So we're going to leave the camera here and see if water runs by. If it does, then it is definitely a shared pipe like we suspect.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, so all the water did run by, so this is a shared system. So the 2 root intrusions we have ahead, and the cast iron and then the PVC right at the property line clean out, are the responsibility of both properties. And because they are shared, the 2 downstream, if they ever got to be a bigger issue, would not even affect this house on Cypress, because it would clog and back up the lower house on Georgia before these people up here even knew that it needed any cleaning. So the only real one that's going to require some immediate and constant maintenance is just the one in the backyard here. where we have the tree. So we're going to go ahead and pull the camera back the rest of the way, but what we're going to do is pause the video. We're going to run some water down all the sewer pipes since they were dry when we started, just to make sure everything looks good on the rest of the cast iron and plastic with any pockets holding water. Okay, so we ran water down the line just to put some into the system since it was dry. We just want to show that there's not any huge pockets of water being held, so it's a little bouncy on the way back here, but we're just coming back to the root intrusion. We want to take another look at these roots that are in the backyard here at Cypress. Got about another 10 feet to go here. There's a little downhill turn where it's entering the neighbor's yard. Now we're back into the true horizontal right here for this property. A couple more feet, we'll be coming up on the root intrusion here, directly under the tree, and there it is. So, it doesn't look like there's a hub there, but I just don't know. So, basically, there could be a T-junction, unlikely, but there could be a hub, or it could just be the top of the pipe as a crack or a fissure. There's no way to know. So, those roots could be cleaned up and maybe get a little bit better visual on there. They're not super bad. As you can see, they're relatively thin, but they're going to continue to grow. So that at some point needs to be cleaned up and maintained or cut out, one of the two. So we'll pull back the rest of the way here to our other camera that we started with. There we go. There's our first camera, and that's all the new plastic pipe from this backyard under all the houses here. So we're going to go ahead and pause and move back to the first camera and look at the rest of this section. Okay, so here's the first camera we put in the system. So we flushed the toilet, ran the sink in this bathroom. We're just going to go ahead and pull this back to go ahead and verify that there's no pockets of standing water in the ABS. We'll pause for 1 second first. Okay, so we'll start pulling back on the system here. Just those cobwebs in the line there. Alright. Now we've got some water that went through the system. And it looks like all the water's draining out completely fine. Nothing's being held in the system. So we're coming back out of the cleanout now. So everything's perfect on the ABS. So this 1825 has all new plastic pipes, both to all the fixture units as well as underground, as well as 1821 actually as well. And the cast iron in the backyard has a little bit of buildup at the transition from ABS to plastic. We've got one root intrusion under the tree in the backyard, and then we have another root intrusion under the neighbor's property in Georgia, where it's a shared pipe. And then after that we have one more root intrusion in the newer plastic pipe by the property line clean out by the sidewalk, and that intrusion also is part of the shared piping system for both properties. So that concludes the recording for this property.